Hello and welcome to this free web class, this free web training on conversion optimization, making more money from your websites by improving conversion rates. So I'm going to introduce you to three core principles relating to conversion optimization: the locate, triangulate, monetate framework, A/B test velocity, and the big idea, which is the big reveal at the end of this presentation. So let me begin by asking you a quick question. How would it impact your business and your team if your conversion rates increased, even if only by 10%? What would you do? Would you continue to invest and scale in your business? Or would you spend less time at work? Or maybe it would get you a raise or a promotion? Or how would you spend your time knowing that your e-commerce revenues were consistently improving over time? So real quick, this isn't really about me, but a quick introduction as to who I am. Who's this guy speaking down the microphone to you? My name is Alan Chapman. I run Host Digital, a conversion consultancy. I've been doing this for a while. Conversion optimization is all I do. And I'm the speaker on the art of selling on websites and resident course trainer over at Digital Kitchen, the digital marketing training provider here in the UK. So before we talk about how to get you to really pro level on conversion optimization, it's worth taking a step back and really understanding the status quo. Where are we? Where are most e-commerce businesses? What's their level of competency when it comes to conversion optimization? Because as a business leader, you already know how website conversion optimization can increase marketing ROI and maximize website revenues. You already know the fastest route to e-commerce success is website conversion optimization. And you might be spending a ton of money on driving traffic, but you've hit a maturation point. It's getting harder to grow profit. You've grown traffic in the past, you've grown your ads bundle, you've spent more on advertising, but you've hit a bit of a plateau and profits are no longer increasing. And on average, 97% of the money you throw at the website is wasted. You already know this. The vast majority of people don't buy on the website. And for the modern marketer, it can feel like a bit of a treadmill. Your marketing ROI isn't improving, so you're unable to invest more into marketing, so you're unable to grow revenue. And here's the problem. Even though you have a team, there's still a resource constraint because conversion optimization is complex and it's prosaic. So perhaps you're not even completely sure what's involved. Many so-called experts don't know either. When I say it's multifaceted, here's what I mean. You've got to establish a measurement framework that involves setting up robust implementation for Google Analytics or whatever web analytics platform you have for website tracking. You've got to do technical analysis, make sure nothing's broken on the website, which involves robust quality assurance. You've got to review the website with heuristic evaluation, understand the design and content opportunities. You've got to do reporting, build the funnels, understand where the bottlenecks are, do the funnel mapping. You've got to do user research and voice of customer insight. You've got to make design and content updates. You've got to make the development and technical implementations. You've got to code the changes, whether that's server-side implementation or maybe you're launching some A/B tests. It requires technical chops. But most of all, you've got to have a strategist in place to tie all of this together. So how do you connect everything together so that the traffic you drive to your website actually converts into customers for your business? Well, you need a system that pulls all these disciplines together to predictably convert traffic into sales. And in this video, I'm going to show you that system. I call it the locate, triangulate, monetate framework, because the status quo is that most e-commerce businesses lack a conversion system. In fact, 63% lack a structured optimization process. It's critical to have a framework. Otherwise, you're winging it. And nearly 3/4 of optimizers say that having a structured approach, a framework to conversion, improves their sales. So in the end, because of your resource constraint and the lack of a system, your business isn't really running any day-to-day activities focused on conversion opportunities to turbocharge your website revenues. So website updates happen, of course they do, but fundamentally the core customer journey isn't changing and conversion rates aren't improving and money is left on the table. So if you're watching this video, then you're here to discover how to predictably and consistently convert traffic into sales. And that's what my client, Your Baby Club, was after too. Their business had so much untapped potential. And when we ran the locate, triangulate, monetate framework on their website, their conversion rate increased 30% overnight. Here are the stats. They had 100% statistical certainty. And the kicker is that they had £150,000 in additional revenue after we ran this A/B test. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how we help them achieve these results. I'll show you the exact system that we use to scale website revenues. So let me show you how to do it right now. Having worked with multiple household names to optimize their websites to conversion, I found these common trends to be true. There are 3 critical phases to conversion optimization that you must have in place if you want to scale website sales. And they're these: evidence-based prioritization, data-driven hypotheses, and statistical application. This is the locate, triangulate, monetate framework. Let's unpack them right now. So the first principle is conversion, is locate. So this is to do with prioritization, and the status quo is there's a lack of prioritization. So everyone's got access to the data and the tools, but they're not really using those data and tools. What that means is sometimes they're making changes on the website, and sometimes they're making A/B tests to the website, but they're not prioritizing those website changes. So that means that A/B testing impact is compromised because you might be looking in the wrong place. You're spinning your wheels. You're not optimizing in places that are going to make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. So the fix for this is to leverage quantitative data. So use your web analytics tools like Google Analytics to understand areas of opportunity and where to focus your time. Here's what I mean. So this is a screenshot of a funnel map. I mean, it's just one example. This is a funnel map we've built for a current client, in fact. And what this actually shows you is it's sort of critical to understanding the bottlenecks and the points of attrition by mapping your website. So in this example, and this is pulled out of the Google Analytics API, that's where we're getting the data from. We've actually mapped our client's website to measure and prioritize conversion optimization activities. Now, in the real world, they can actually slice and dice this dashboard because it's interactive in order to understand, for example, mobile versus desktop conversion rates, or Google versus Facebook conversion rates, and so on and so forth. Now, a quick tip for you here: if you want to leverage funnel mapping and indeed start to extract data out of Google Analytics in a way that gives you more meaningful data that's actionable, then I recommend you actually download my dashboard from the website. You can get it from this URL here. What it'll enable you to do is actually plug the dashboard directly into your Google Analytics account so you can start getting some meaningful data out of it right away. So that's the first principle, it's locate. The second conversion principle is triangulate, because once you've mapped your funnel and you visualize your dashboards, you really need to triangulate all the other data and tools that you have access to in order to understand the nature of the change that you're going to make on the website. So again, the status quo here is really alarming. Unfortunately, 83% of companies are running website experiments that have no supportive data. So let's bear in mind, a hypothesis without evidence is just a guess. So conversion optimization really should be a marriage of the findings from all your data and tools that inform your hypotheses. So what do I mean by a hypothesis? Well, it's fill in the blank time, right? There's a formula for this stuff. If you follow this convention, that you will have evidence-backed, data-driven hypothesis. Because we saw X data feedback, we expect that Y change will cause Z impact, and we'll measure this using insert data metric here. That is how you form a data-driven hypothesis that will help you launch winning A/B tests. How do you get the data of these hypotheses? Well, there's loads of ways to do it, but here's just a few examples, the most common examples, the low-hanging fruit, if you will. The first is heat maps, where you can actually visually represent how people are clicking and scrolling on the website. The second is form analytics. So this is when you're looking at your individual forms on your website, for example, your lead generation forms, your checkout pages, and discovering which form fields, individual form fields, contribute to abandonment. So you can actually fix your forms. Video recordings. You can actually record the screen of people using your website and understand how they use the site. And of course, user surveys. Actually ask your customers, your website visitors, what they think of the site, what they're trying to achieve, what's stopping them do that, because you can target questions anywhere on the website that you like. And last but not least, user testing. So you recruit people who are representative of your target market. You actually set them tasks to perform on the website, and they'll actually speak aloud their thoughts as they're going through those scenarios. They'll tell you what they think as they try to complete the purchase. Here's a free little bonus tip for you. This is just a myth buster about best practice, because there's so much plagiarism in the industry right now. But the truth is, results are seldom uniform across websites, and what works on someone else's website doesn't necessarily work on another. So don't make assumptions. Rather than make assumptions, actually do A/B tests, and make sure those A/B tests are born out of data, hypothesis-driven data, or data-driven hypothesis, I should say. Again, it comes back to the data research. And here's the third conversion principle. This is to do with monetate. So once you know where you're going to make your website change, that's locate, and you know the nature of the change you're going to make, that's triangulate, then you need to monetate or monetize. I know monetate isn't actually a word, but it rhymes with locate and triangulate. So we're going to go with monetate. And when you monetate, I'm talking about changing the code on your website, right? Launching something in the live environment. I'm not going to talk about website like code or development. What I'm going to focus on here is actually statistics, because there's an alarming lack of statistical robustness and statistical application in the industry at the moment. Either client side or consultancy side or agency side, doesn't really matter where you look. Very few people really applying it properly. So if these terms make your head spin, it's completely understandable. Not a lot of people are really familiar with them. Sample size, statistical power, minimal detectable effect. Is your success metric binomial or non-binomial, right? So these concepts are really, really important to run a successful A/B test that's actually valid. If you don't know statistics, you can't really do CRO. That's the inconvenient truth of it. There are two core risks. A false positive, that's where you think you've got a positive A/B test, but it's not actually positive. Or a false negative, which is the reverse. You think you've got a negative result, but actually it's a positive one. One is more common and one is more detrimental. But the end of the game here, the point to make here is that without application of statistics, you're just guessing. There's no guardrail on the A/B test that you're doing. So statistics are absolutely crucial to this game. And I love this quote from Aaron Levenstein. Even though we're in a post-Me Too world right now, I think it's still very, very valid. Statistics are like a bikini. What they reveal is suggestive, but what they conceal is vital. It's so true, because when you're looking at the stats from, let's say, an A/B test, sometimes you think the change you made is looking really, really good, but actually when you run the stats, it's not statistically valid. And if you didn't run the stats, then what would happen is you'd make that change on the website and you see your conversion rate actually go down, which is the worst possible result, isn't it? So having an understanding of stats, understanding these kind of concepts that I referred to before, really, really important, not just for evaluating a test, but actually for planning a test before you even launch it. So here we go. This is the summary of the locate, triangulate, monetate framework. With locate, just to say that rather than just look at that averages and the aggregates, you're really going to want to segment the data. So when you're looking at the dashboard that you can get from my website, or you're looking at a funnel map, maybe you're looking at where people are abandoning, make sure you compare different devices, desktop versus mobile, or different traffic sources, Google versus Facebook and the like. And when you're moving on to the triangulate phase and you're looking at various other data sources, the sort of more intangible data sources, use as many different sources of insight as possible. Look at videos, recordings, run surveys, do user tests, run form analytics. There are various tools which I won't go into here because they're changing all the time, that you can leverage that don't cost much. You can plonk them on your site. You can start to run these types of analyses. And lastly, with monetate, just to reiterate, excuse me, what I said before, the application of statistics can really, or the lack of application of statistics can really, really undo everything else that you've done. So don't waste all that time and energy you spent on locate and triangulate by not running your statistics. Otherwise, that conversion rate, I can assure you, is not going to go up. Here's another little bonus tip for you, that CRO, conversion optimization, it doesn't actually always end up in an A/B test. So this is what most people think when they think about A/B testing and CRO. You send people to the website, they either see variation A or variation B of your homepage, for example, and then you kind of map out which variation was more successful. And you can say, okay, yeah, variation B was actually more successful than variation A, for example. But that's not always what we do with conversion optimization, because there's so many other things to it. As I say, it's multidisciplinary. The final output is definitely a change to your website, but sometimes that change is validated with an A/B test that confirms it's good or bad. But sometimes the change that you roll out is without A/B testing. For example, it's diagnostic and you're just fixing something that's broken, right? If that's the case, you don't need to A/B test it. It's a no-brainer. You just go ahead and make that change. So the decision whether or not to A/B test is a really important part of conversion rate optimization. You need to take it on a case-by-case basis. It really depends on the strength of the hypothesis and a few other factors as well, like how much traffic have you got? Have you actually got enough traffic to run an A/B test? So for more on that, see my article that I've listed there in my blog. Okay, so here are some of the e-commerce websites that I've worked on in the past to help them with their conversion rates. And what I want to say here is some of the results that we've got by utilizing that locate, triangulate, monetate framework have been really, really outstanding. So 11% add to basket increase, 30% increase in signups for a lead gen site, 92% increase in sales for an e-commerce site. So, results can speak for themselves when you follow the right methodology. And here are some of the quotes we got from one of the CEO here. Customer journey clearly improved. New site is excellent. Customer journey enhanced enormously. Nick here is saying that we've over-delivered every step of the way. The fusion of data and UX has increased e-commerce returns month on month. And then finally, we've got the managing director, Richard, saying that previously overlooked aspects have now really increased the value of the website. So this framework really does work. Okay, here's the second principle we're going to talk about now in the final 5 minutes of the training. This is test velocity. This relates specifically to A/B testing, and it's really the most critical part. And again, I don't see many exponents of CRO really doing this. Test velocity, when I explain it to you, sounds really, really simple, but actually it's more complex than it seems. What it is, it's the quantity of A/B tests that you're running, so the frequency or the amount of tests that you're running, versus the percentage of winning tests. In other words, test velocity is quality of tests versus the quality of those tests. Does that make sense? So I know it sounds really, really simple, but break it down because it holds you accountable. If you imagine that you're kind of measuring everything you do against test velocity, what it does is it forces you to run high frequency, high quality experiments. So think about that for a second. If your North Star is test velocity, if that's what your KPI is, if that's what you're held accountable for, then your team, your business is always going to run a high frequency of A/B tests that are high quality. So not a lot of people actually measure test velocity. But if you do, then and you continue to improve over time, then ultimately you are going to be running a lot of A/B tests that are often successful. And that's absolutely key because so many businesses either don't run enough A/B tests, and by the way, the most successful companies run north of 20 A/B tests a year, but either they don't run enough or they don't run enough successful tests. So that's why test velocity is so critical to measure when you start rolling out your A/B test program. So as I say, it's the result of everything else you do. So going back to the locate, triangulate, monetate, if all those elements are in place, then you'll have a healthy test velocity. So it's all self-reinforcing. Test velocity is your KPI, and the locate, triangulate, framework, monetate framework is how you get there. Okay, so if you follow locate, triangulate, monetate, you will ultimately have a really good test velocity. And that's how inspired factoring, we gave them a whopping 81% increase in conversions and 99% statistical confidence when we optimized their landing page, this lead gen landing page. Or Skilift's e-commerce website, we achieved 91.6% increase in conversions by optimizing landing pages for organic search traffic. So it really does work. And finally, let's close here with the big idea. So simple, it's going to kill you, but at the same time, very, very powerful indeed. It's this. And from the legendary Dan Kennedy, whoever can spend the most money to acquire a customer wins. Now, what do I mean by that? Do I mean you've got to have deep pockets in order to be successful in e-commerce? No, that's not what I mean. Think about it carefully. Let's just read it again. Whoever can spend the most money to acquire a customer wins. So when your website is converting more visitors to customers, it means you can invest more in your e-commerce channel. So you can actually afford a higher cost per click, CPC, for channels like Google and Facebook, because the conversion rate is going to be better on the back end on your website. And so your CPA or your ROI, CPA is going to be lower and your ROI is going to be higher. So indeed, when you have a robust conversion rate optimization program in place, you can actually afford to invest more in e-commerce, knowing in good faith that your CPA is going to be lower and your ROI is going to be higher. So when I started working with Your Baby Club, their website was already working and it was already powering their business. They're working really hard to generate a lot of traffic to the website. They just didn't know how to leverage the traffic to generate more consistent sales to make the website even better. So using my framework, having run successful A/B tests, they could actually now afford to invest more in traffic. In their case, they were able to double down on Facebook ads. That's where they were already pumping most of their marketing budget. And knowing that their conversion rate was higher, they actually got a lower CPA. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was self-reinforcing. This is what the A/B test looked like. This is the first A/B test we ran for them. The original's on the left. It was one form. And this is just a small part of it. There's other parts that we changed, but this is the main part. The form is on the left and the variations on the right. And we actually broke down the form into 4 separate parts. This was the main thing that increased conversions. Simple design and content changes, but based on the data. And we were able to really turbocharge their conversion rates. 30% uplift in a single test. There are the results from the A/B test tool. The pink line is the variation, the blue line is the original, and there's clear daylight between the two. 30% improvement in the conversion rate. Really, really happy to see. They were dead chuffed. And the weird thing is, though, that almost every business is doing conversion optimization to some degree. They're improving their website in some shape or form. And everyone's got pretty much access to the same data and tools because, frankly, they're cheap and they're easy to use. They're easy to use on the surface of it, but no one's really analyzing them. The limitations really are people-based. People having the skills to do web analytics and stats, and also soft skills, right? Being able to align the design team with the development team, or evangelizing a data-driven culture, or being able to follow A/B test velocity as your North Star. So, all the pieces are in place, but it's the people part that really is stopping people from running a world-class optimization program, which is such a shame because look at the business case. Effects of a higher conversion rate increase customer acquisition, sets the foundation for other marketing like Facebook and Google. When you make a change to a web page, it's immediate and it's ongoing. The effects of CRO are more or less perennial. So you make a decent A/B test today and you'll be feeling the benefits for weeks, months, years to come. And the other thing that's overlooked actually is that good user experience actually improves retention, repeat business, lifetime customer value, and it reduces churn. And finally, as if you needed more business case for conversion optimization, there's the compound aspect. So consider you had these results for your activities over time, then in essence, you would have doubled your conversion rate. So what should you do right now? Well, one thing you shouldn't do is nothing, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, right? And regardless, unfortunately, of what business you're in, getting this right does require time and it requires money. But you've got two choices. You could either go it alone or you could invest. And by invest, I mean you could either go internal or external with this. Get people within your team to do this, hire internally as well, or hire an external agency consultancy to do this for you. Do bear in mind, though, that if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, as they say, wait until you hire an amateur. The inconvenient truth is that when you hire people to do CRO, that they can burn you. I've seen it happen before, and I'm sorry for it. You basically have to become a bit of a talent scout to filter through all the candidates and babysit them to make sure they're doing the right thing. So I know as an e-commerce business leader, that's not what you want to be doing. It's a major headache, and there's just too much to do. You don't have time or the expertise to do everything yourself. What you really want is an air traffic controller, right? Someone to coordinate and strategize the entire conversion process for you. Someone with a proven track record who can do all this management and optimization stuff. So my offer to you here is if you want to run winning A/B tests that maximize website revenues, then, I'm here to help because I've turned websites that were already powering the business into revenue generating machines. And that's why these kind of companies have worked with me to gain competitive edge over their competitors. So listen, if you want to maximize website revenues, then feel free to schedule a quick 15-minute call with me. You can access my calendar directly on this page. I'd be happy to talk. And in fact, in our conversation, I'll be happy to map out your conversion funnel for you at no extra charge. On the call, we'll talk about how to apply the locate, triangulate, monetate framework to your business. We'll get to know your business and identify the exact approach that would be best for you. So it's your turn now. If you want to turbocharge website revenues, then jump on this opportunity right now. I look forward to hearing from you about how I can help you grow your online sales.